going to go to our top view. So this is going to be plane view. So right now we're in isometric. That's why you see all these planes. Now we're going to go to top view, and you'll learn this. This will become second nature. If I go too fast, you can pause the video and rewind it, slow it down, whatever you need to do. And so you can see what I'm doing. Click on sketch, go over here where it says sketch plane and click on that, and then go top view. So now this sketch 1, we're going to create this in top view. We're going to go over here to center point circle. We're going to left click. We're going to left click again in the center of that top plane, and we're going to draw this out. And don't worry if you don't get the size right away, because we can scale that, and I'll show you how. Now I'm going to left click again on the inside of that and create another circle. And we'll get these to the appropriate size in just a second. Now I'm going to hit escape, and that'll stop that sketch tool. That'll stop the center point circle, will be deactivated. I'm going to go over here to the dimension tool, and I'm going to left click on that. I'm going to left click on this outer diameter and drag this out. So the part we're creating right now is going to be the top portion of the frame. It's going to be the top frame tube that everything really connects to. Your motor mount tubes are going to connect there. The swing arm's going to connect. The back portion of the frame's going to connect to it. We're going to build that out first, and we're going to do a 1 inch in diameter. So everything for me is scaled out into inches. Left click on this and drag this out. I'm going to go 0.76. Now really I want it 0.75 for the inner diameter of this tube, but I'm going to scale it out a little larger because we're going to put threads in here. And so I've already tested out a few of these pieces, and this diameter will cause the least amount of work to get those parts ready to go together and thread together. So now we can close that out. So now that sketch is done. All right, now we're going to go back to isometric view. Notice here we're in isometric view. And I'll try to repeat myself so you get a lot of repetition with how to use the workspace. I'm going to left click over here on this square on the front plane. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to create the length of this tube. It's going to be 12 inches long. And we're going to click on the front plane. So you notice here in sketch 2, we've got the front plane selected. And this time, instead of that center point circle, I'm going to select the line tool. I'm going to left click on the center after that highlights. I'm going to drag that up and left click again. Now notice I only did 2.2 inches, and notice when I drag that away it starts to try to create another line. I don't want that other line, so instead of left clicking and creating it, I'm going to hit escape, and that disappears. We're going to go up here to our dimension tool right here. We're going to left click on that line we just created. We're going to drag that out, and we know we want that to be 12 inches long. I'm going to place my index finger on the mouse and use the wheel to scroll that out so you can kind of see. And if you press on the mouse wheel, you can drag this around so you can center it up really easy. So I'm going to close that sketch out. So now we have 2 sketches. Now I haven't named those yet, and I'm doing that intentionally. We're going to come back and name this, but after we've created the part. So that way we know all of these sketches. Now what I just did there is I clicked right click, and then I held it down, the right button, and I'm just rotating that. That allows me to rotate that around in isometric view. The reason I'm doing that is I'm going to take that center wheel again and scroll in, and we're going to highlight those 2 circles we created, because what we want to do is create a tube, a hollow tube. So we're going to go to our sweep tool to do that. There's really 2 tools that you'll normally use. You'll either use extrude to create a part or sweep. Those are pretty common. We're going to do sweep. You notice I've got solid, new. It's asking what do we want for the outside face. So we're going to left click on that and come down here. We're going to highlight both of those. You want to make sure both are highlighted. I'm going to left click on that. Now you'll notice it's asking, all right, how long do we want this? What's the path going to be that we're going to follow? I'm going to left click on that. See how it turned blue? I'm going to come over and left click again. And I'm going to close that out. Again, solid, new. Faces to sketch was the circle you highlighted. And then the length of the tube was that line we just created in sketch 2. I'm going to close that out. Scroll in. Notice how it's hollow on both sides. So it's 0.76 there. And this is going to be the tube that we're going to work with to create that part. All right, now we're in isometric view. We're going to create some center point circles for those other tubes like the engine mount and the swing arms to mount to. So let's go ahead, we'll go to front view on this. Go up here to sketch. We're going to create 4 circles on this side of the tube. So you notice we're on sketch 3. We need a sketch plane. We're going to do the front plane. I left click on that. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to left click center point circle. I'm going to scroll down and get at the bottom of that plane until it highlights. Now I'm going to scroll up, and it's okay if we don't have the distance right off the bat. I'm going to left click. I'm going to draw that out. I'm going to go up again. I'm going to highlight that point. I'm going to go up from that. You notice the orange or yellow checkered line or dashed line. I'm going to left click again. I'm going to go back down here and highlight the center of this tube we're creating. I'm going to go just above that. We'll get the distance between these in just a second. Same thing with the dimension. So once you go here, you notice that that highlights again. Once it's highlighted, drag away with your mouse or scroll your mouse to the top and then left click and then drag that out. Alright, so now we have our 4 circles. I'm going to left click on the outer portion of this circle and we're going to create the size of it. Alright, so we're going to go 0.76 so that it'll be a little bit larger than the tube that's going to go in it. So 0.76. And we'll get the distance on these in just a second, where they need to be at on the tube. 0.76. We're going to do this for all of these. 0.76. Alright, so now we've got that. Now we're going to click on the outer part of that circle. We're going to click up here on the tube, and we want that to be 2 inches. So the distance between the outer part, or the diameter of that circle, and the top part of the part that we're creating, we want that to be 2 inches. Next circles, we're going to create the distance between those. But I'm going to use the center point of that circle just to show you the difference between the two. I'm going to scroll over, and I want that distance to be 2.5 inches. Alright, so these are 2.5 inches apart. Now I'm going to click the center, left click again, drag that out, and I want that to be 3 inches. So now I'm going to click the center of this circle and the center of this one, and I want that to be 2.75. And you notice I put all the measurements that were for the diameter of the circle on one side, and all the measurements that were the distance between on another. That way it's just easy to read and it doesn't get messy. Alright, that's all we need to do on this side of this part. Alright, so we're back in isometric view. Now we've got one more circle to create before we actually use another tool to create holes in this part. So let's go to right view. And we're going to go over here to the sketch tool again. So we're going to left click on the sketch tool. We're going to come over and left click on the right plane. So you see the sketch 4 is in the right plane. That's what we're working on right now. We're going to left click center point circle. We're going to come over to the center part of that plane. And we're going to highlight that by just hovering. And then we're going to drag this all the way up here. Left click and then drag out and create a circle. Now you can come over and left click on center point circle again to deactivate that, or hit escape. Now we need to create the dimension. So we're going to use the dimension tool, left click on that, come over, left click on the outer diameter of that circle, drag that away, left click and go 0.76, just like the other circles. And you can move that around once you close it out. We're gonna, dimension tool is already open right now, so we're gonna left click on the center of this circle, left click on the center point of that circle. We're going to go down here and left click on the bottom part of that, and we're going to drag that out to the side. That's going to be 11 inches. So let's left click, close that out, and now our circles have been created. So we've got 4 in the front view and 1 over here in the right view. Now we need those to go through this part so that we can thread those. We're going to go back to isometric view. We're going to come over and we're going to use a new tool. We're going to use extrude. So left click on the extrude isometric view real quick. I'm going to go up to those sketches. Notice how I highlighted in the feature menu. I'm going to left click on that, and that extruded those. But notice it's solid and add. We wanted remove. So we want those removed, but it's only doing that on one side. We need it to be done on both sides. So we're going to go to symmetric. And since this is an inch in diameter, that should have done that all the way around. Because it's going from an inch from the center out. So that should be enough. So we're going to close that out. And now we have those holes created. Let's create another extrude and remove this other circle we created, and that was sketch 4. So without really having to change the view, you can come over to the feature menu. You can left click on that. It'll highlight it, and you go to extrude. It's only solid add, so try to create a tube off to the side. We don't want that. We want to remove that circle. Now it's only doing that, it's only removing that part of the tube on one side, so we need to make sure it's symmetric just like before. Let's look at that. Yeah, it's taking material away on both sides. So now we can close that out. All right, good. We're almost done. We're going to go up to this thread creator. If you don't have this, what you can do is download it. So you add a custom feature, you'll go out and download it. So you go out here and you search for that thread creator. All right, so we got our thread creator here. We got our standard threads. We're going to click on that circle we just created. We'll start with this top one first. And we want that diameter. So you want to see right here, you want to see it go through that part. We're going to click on this side. We're going to scroll around to the other side, and we'll do the same thing. There's our threads. And we're going to do the same for each one of these. So thread creator here and here. Creates it on the other side. Close it out. And I'm just going to continue that process. Oops, I selected the wrong thing. It's going to do the whole outside part of that. So if that accidentally happens, you can just close this out and it'll do just those two that you selected. What happened was I created the whole surface and it would have created threads on the outside. Let's go to Thread Creator. When that pops up, click here, and it'll create the threads. Now, we've got our threads created. We've got one more area we need to create threads for. This will give you practice with some additional tools. We're going to turn this off. So we've gone from features, we're going to come down to this part. We're just going to turn that off so it doesn't distract us. We're going to come back up here to top view, so left click on top view. And I just left click on this eyeball to turn that part off. Alright, so now we're going to left click on sketch. We're going to select the top view like we did when we first started. We're going to left click center point circle. We're going to highlight the center and then we're going to left click and drag that out. Left click again to start a new circle. Go back to the center, hover, left click, draw that out. Left click again and you can come up and either left click on that or hit escape. We're going to come over to the dimension tool. We're going to left click on that. Come down to the outer diameter of that circle, the first one we created. Left click to highlight and then make that 1 inch. Come down, left click on the inner circle, and we want that one to be 0.76. Now, we're going to close that sketch out. Sketch 5 is now closed. We're going to come over to this little navigation square. We're going to go to front view. So click on front view, left click on your sketch, left click on front view, left click on the line tool, hover over the center until it highlights the center, left click, drag it out, left click again, either hit escape or come all the way over here and click on that line tool, left click on the dimension tool, left click on that line, and we want this to be 0.75. Close sketch 6 out. Left click up here on the corner of the square or the cube. We're going to go to the sweep tool, so left click on that. We want it solid new. Faces to sketch, left click on that, come down, highlight those two circles. Swept path, left click on that, it'll turn blue. Left click on that line we just created. And then close that out. So now we've created another part that's only 3/4 of an inch long. And what we're going to do is merge it to that so that it doesn't cause those threads to go all the way through the part or interfere with the other threads we just created. We're going to come over and we're going to create these threads. We're going to click on the inner part of that circle, and you can navigate by clicking your right mouse button and holding it down and turning that if you need another view. Left click on that. We've already created the thread creator. And we want that to be fully threaded all the way through that part. It's standard. There's our pitch, number of starts. That's all we're going to do. We're going to turn on part 1 again so you can see how those are together. We're going to merge those so they become one part. But it prevented those threads from going all the way through and disturbing or preventing these threads from going this direction. So let's left click on part 1, left click on part 2. Now they're both highlighted. We're going to right click. We're going to go to Boolean. Now it just created one part from that. You see our threads there. You see our threads from the other ones we created that are going horizontally. These are going vertically, and they're not going to interfere with each other. We're going to go back to isometric view as we're going to go name these parts again. So we're going to right click and hit rename for that part. And this is going to be our top front frame tube. Or left click and close that out, and now that's named. And if you want to see the full name, you can kind of drag the feature and part menu out. But I am going to rename the sketches, because if we have to resize, I want to know what those sketches go to, because we're going to have a long list of sketches and different tools that we use, and those sketches will indicate which part they go to, and then we'll automatically know if there's a sweep or some other tool that we use below the sketch. We'll automatically know that that went to that sketch. So I'm going to right click and rename. I'm going to give each one of those the same name. So top front frame tube. So if you don't like the process that I'm using, just don't rename, and it'll continue to say sketch 1, sketch 2, sketch 3, sketch 4. You get the idea. But once you rename it, if I were to create a new sketch down here, sorry, let's just hit sketch. See, it starts with sketch 1 again. But the reason I like this process is I'll know that this is sketch 1 of the top front frame tube. If I create another part, which we will, I'll know that that first sketch is the first one in the sequence for that part. Let's go ahead. We got one last step. We can go in and print this off and then take it to our 3D printer. So let's right click on this. Let's go to export, and we're going to export this part. You'll just leave all of these settings. Most of your 3D printers are going to be in millimeters, so we're going to export it out in those settings. And anything else we need to change, we can change in our slicing software for the 3D printer. So let's go export, and now it's downloaded, and then I'll save that to another file. We'll make a separate video on how to 3D print it.